There are moments in life when you stand amidst the bustling crowd, yet feel completely adrift. All the sounds around you seem distant, while inside, an unnamed emptiness quietly expands. You might be in a brightly lit office, a warm home, or the heart of a glittering city, but deep down, you don't know what you're truly living for. Then one day, that question grows too big to ignore. People call that moment the first step of the spiritual quest, a journey unlike anyone else's, a road no one can walk on your behalf. Some begin from loss, when a single event sweeps away everything they once relied upon. Others set off from a pain they cannot name, wandering halfway around the world before touching even a glimpse of peace. And there are those who, in the midst of ordinary life, suddenly realize they've been missing something vital all along: themselves. Strangely enough, the path to truth isn't always paved with sacred teachings or grand temples. Sometimes it begins with a glance from a stranger who sees right through you, a fleeting roadside conversation, or even a loss you thought you could never survive. Every person carries a story, and every story is a different map. You'll meet a war veteran who once faced death on the battlefield, but found deep serenity in meditation. You'll hear about a mother who lost her child, believing her life had ended, yet was open to the wisdom of impermanence by an old monk. You'll walk alongside voluntary wanderers who left everything behind in search of something intangible to the hands. You will find a part of yourself, a question you've never answered, a wound you've never touched, or a dream you once left behind. The spiritual journey isn't just for other people. Sometimes it is your story, only you haven't named it yet. Come, walk with me into this collection. Each story is a doorway, and behind each one may lie exactly what you've been seeking all along. In places where Buddhism is deeply woven into daily life, it often evokes images of serene temples, monks in saffron robes, or extended meditation retreats, though known by many different names. In ancient India, the word path might be linked to Dharma, the right way of living, the cosmic order, and the moral law that one must follow to live in harmony with the world. In Western tradition, seeking the path can mean searching for truth or salvation, found in the pilgrimages of Christian believers to Jerusalem or in the long travels of Benedictine monks seeking solitude to hear the voice of God. In the Middle East, this journey is present in the Sufis, those who yearn to move beyond outward rituals to touch the very core of divine love. Ultimately, regardless of where you begin, the quest for the path stems from a deep inner urge to search for meaning and peace for the soul. Some find it through established religious traditions. Others find it through philosophy, art, or simply through a quiet, mindful way of living. In our globalized age, the idea has expanded even further. A person in America might draw inspiration from India's Bhagavad Gita. They simply recognize that their current life, with its exhausting pace and constant pressure, cannot fully answer the question of why they exist. From that emptiness, a question is planted. Is there another way? Viewed globally, the stories of those seeking the path are incredibly diverse. In Europe, there are young people leaving their office jobs to join meditation monasteries in Thailand. In the United States, the mindfulness movement, rooted in Buddhism, has spread into businesses, schools, and even prisons. In South America, some communities pursue the path by immersing themselves in nature and reviving ancient indigenous rituals, seeking reconnection with the earth and with themselves. Yet despite the variety of methods, the essence of seeking the path converges at a single point: the search for a state of awakening, where one is no longer swept away by waves of emotion, desire, and fear, but can live at ease in the midst of change. From a Buddhist perspective, this state is close to liberation, freedom from the suffering caused by ignorance, craving, and aversion. In other traditions, it might be called salvation, union with God, or spiritual awakening. Whatever the name, the core remains the same: a fundamental transformation in how one sees the world and oneself. Seeking the path is not necessarily a journey apart from everyday life. On the contrary, many great teachers and practitioners have found truth within the simplest acts: pouring a cup of tea for a guest, sweeping the yard in the morning, offering a smile on the street. Seen from a global perspective, This is a fascinating meeting point among traditions. It is easier because geographic and cultural distances have almost disappeared. You can join a meditation retreat in Asia with just a few clicks, or read the works of spiritual masters worldwide on your phone. Yet it is more challenging because, in a sea of mixed information, truth and illusion, depth and shallowness blend together. A seeker must have discernment and clarity to avoid being lost in dead-end forms of spirituality driven by commercialism or superstition. This is where the Buddhist spirit still holds its core value when viewed internationally. Experience for yourself. Do not believe simply because you have been told. A perspective, an awareness that exists in every moment. When we broaden this concept to the global scale, we see that every spiritual journey, regardless of religion, culture, or starting point, meets at a crossroads, where a person begins to ask questions and dares to step out of their comfort zone in search of an answer. That crossroads could be a monastery in Nepal. As you listen to the stories in this collection, you will realize, no matter how different our roads may be, we are all walking toward the same direction, the direction of awakening, inner freedom, and boundless compassion. 1.2 Why do people begin to seek the path? Crisis, loss, emptiness, and the question of life's meaning. Across different cultures and eras, these crises can take many forms: the sudden death of a loved one, the end of a marriage, a betrayal from someone deeply trusted, or the loss of health and stability. In such moments, the world once seen as solid and predictable suddenly feels fragile, fleeting, and uncertain. For some, this awakening begins in the quiet void after a loss, when all the noise of daily life fades away and only emptiness remains. They start to question, what is the point of all this? Why am I here? Is there anything that truly lasts? These questions, though unsettling, often mark the first steps on the journey towards seeking a deeper truth. Others experience a more subtle kind of emptiness, not triggered by tragedy, but by the slow realization that material success, social status, and pleasures of the senses fail to satisfy the hunger of the soul. A person may achieve everything they once dreamed of: wealth, recognition, comfort, yet still feel something missing, like a faint ache at the edge of awareness. This ache whispers that there must be something more, something beyond the cycle of desire and fulfillment that never truly fulfills. In some cases, the journey towards seeking the path is ignited by existential questions, timeless inquiries that have haunted humanity for millennia. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where will I go after death? Such questions often arise in the stillness of the night, in moments when the distractions of the world fall away. These are not questions that logic or science alone can answer. It has led some toward monastic life in Christian monasteries or mystical practices in Sufi traditions. In the East, it has drawn others to meditation retreats in Buddhist temples, or to the quiet study of Taoist philosophy. Despite cultural differences, the core is the same: a longing to understand the truth behind existence, to find a peace that cannot be shaken by the impermanence of the world. Buddhism speaks gently to this longing, without demanding blind faith or rigid dogma. It offers the idea that suffering, loss, and emptiness are not meaningless. They are signposts pointing toward the path of awakening. In this view, the moments when life feels most fragile are not the end, but the beginning of a transformation. Pain becomes the seed of wisdom, and the search for meaning becomes the very road to liberation. Thus, whether born from heartbreak, the quiet ache of emptiness, or the great questions of existence, the journey to seek the path begins when a person dares to face their own suffering and look beyond it. It is not a sign of weakness. A person does not always walk alone. There are moments, as if predestined by fate, when we meet someone, and from that very moment, the road ahead completely changes. It could be a teacher, a friend, or even a stranger who appears briefly in our life. Yet, their presence opens a new door, allowing us to see the world and ourselves through a different lens. Destined encounters rarely come when we are actively searching for them. They often appear at the most unexpected times, when we are deep in crisis or when our hearts have just endured profound loss. In such moments, a single sentence, a compassionate gaze, or a shared story from that person can touch the deepest part of our soul, like a drop of water seeping into parched soil. awakening the seed of transformation within. A despairing young woman is invited for a cup of tea by an elderly stranger who quietly tells her a story about letting go. Or a lost young man happens to read a few lines from a philosopher's book. And from that moment, his entire worldview is reshaped. These moments may seem small, but they hold the power to change the course of an entire lifetime. A meeting that seems purely coincidental can become the key that unlocks the door to awakening. Not everyone recognizes the value of that moment right away, but the seed has been planted, and in time, a single meeting is enough, and the other person's words or actions may echo within us for a lifetime. At other times, we ourselves may be the fated person in someone else's story, leaving a mark that alters the course of their life, even without our knowing. That is why the journey of seeking the path is not solely the solitary walk of a single soul. It is a web of interwoven karmic connections, where each person, each meeting, and each moment can become a turning point. We never know when we will meet that person, but when we do, life will never be the same again. Part 2. Seeking the path through suffering and loss. There are journeys toward the spiritual path that do not begin with curiosity or a thirst for knowledge, but with wounds that have never healed. When life is torn apart by loss, when the heart touches the very depths of pain, a person begins to ask, why am I living? Does any of this have meaning? Suffering, though everyone fears it, has the power to awaken us more than any lecture ever could. It pushes us out of our comfort zones, forcing us to see how fragile all attachments truly are. And in that moment, many begin the search for a path that leads to true peace beyond the turbulence of life. The American soldier who lost his brothers in Afghanistan, a journey to find inner peace. When David Miller returned from Afghanistan, the war did not end for him. The gunfire had stopped. The desert was now behind him, but inside his mind, the battlefield still raged. He was only 32, but his eyes carried the heaviness of someone who had lived several lifetimes. David had been part of a close-knit unit, men who had eaten together, joked together, and protected one another through countless firefights. But one fateful mission changed everything. An unexpected explosion claimed the lives of 3 of his closest brothers in arms. David survived physically, but a part of his soul was buried in that dusty land. He tried everything the modern world offered, therapy, medication, alcohol, to numb the pain. But nothing reached the hollow core inside him. It was during one particularly dark winter night, when the city was silent under the snow, that he stumbled upon an invitation to a veterans' meditation retreat. He had no faith in such things. David sat cross-legged in the meditation hall, surrounded by other veterans, men and women who bore invisible wounds like his. The teacher, a calm, elderly monk from Thailand named Ajahn Kittisaro, didn't begin with religion. Instead, he asked, "What are you still carrying that no longer belongs to you?" At first, David was confused, but as the days passed, the silence began to work on him. He saw how much of his life since the war had been about clinging to guilt, to loss, to the belief that he could have done more. Ajahn Kittisaro gently guided him through breathing exercises, encouraging him to see the faces of his fallen brothers not with regret, but with gratitude for the time they had shared. One afternoon, during walking meditation, David felt something shift. The cold mountain wind brushed against his skin, and for the first time in years, he noticed its beauty instead of its bite. He realized he could honor his brothers by living fully, rather than punishing himself endlessly. The retreat ended, but David's journey didn't. He continued his meditation practice, volunteered at veteran support groups, and even traveled to Thailand to spend a month in a monastery. The nightmares didn't vanish overnight, but their grip loosened. He learned to meet them with compassion instead of fear. Years later, David would say that losing his brothers was the deepest wound of his life, but learning to let go was the greatest gift they unknowingly left him. In finding peace within himself, he found a way to carry their memory without being crushed by it. And in the quiet moments of dawn, he would whisper their names into the wind, not with sorrow, but with love. 2.2 Story 2. When Loss Teaches Us Impermanence. The Journey of an Indian Mother. Anjali was a mother living in a small village in Kerala, southern India. This loss hit Anjali like a violent wave, sweeping away everything in her world. She fell into a deep despair, unable to accept the fact that her beloved child was gone forever. For months, family and friends felt helpless watching her sink deeper into sorrow with no way out. By chance, a friend suggested she visit a well-known monk in the area, respected for his compassion and profound wisdom. At first, she refused, believing no one could help her. Yet a faint hope remained, and she decided to go. When Anjali arrived, he invited her to sit and fully share her story without judgment or rushed advice. After listening carefully, Anjali struggled to accept this at first. She asked how it was possible to be peaceful after losing someone so dear. The monk replied that peace does not mean absence of suffering, but the state of no longer being controlled by suffering. Guided by his words, Anjali began meditating. In the beginning, she wrestled with intense emotions, but gradually her mind grew clearer. She learned to observe her pain without being swept away by it, like a person watching waves rise and fall in the ocean without being drowned. Over time, her love and their precious memories would remain forever in her heart. Her journey was neither easy nor instantaneous. It was a step-by-step process of facing herself, her pain, and the truth of life's constant change. In the end, Anjali became an inspiration in her community, sharing her story to help others facing loss find light in the darkness. Through her suffering, she came to deeply understand the value of life, love, and letting go. Anjali's story is a vivid testament that even in our darkest moments, we can find the light of awakening and inner peace. Loss is not an end, but a beginning, an invitation to journey through pain toward the truth of impermanence and freedom within the soul. 2. 3. Suffering is not the end, but the beginning of a new journey. Life inevitably brings challenges, loss, and pain. Yet, these seemingly final experiences often open new doors, guiding us toward a deeper and more meaningful journey. From David's story on the battlefields of Afghanistan to Anjali's path as an Indian mother enduring the loss of her child, we see a living truth. Suffering is not the end, but the starting point for transformation and awakening. Suffering is a universal experience that anyone can face, regardless of social status, culture, or belief. It shakes us, destabilizes our firmest beliefs, and sometimes causes us to lose direction in life. But when we dare to face, accept, and understand suffering, we not only overcome it, but can transform it into an inner strength. This is one of the most important steps on the path to seeking truth in many spiritual traditions. But those moments are crucial turning points where we learn to let go, letting go of pain, unrealistic expectations, and the tight bonds within our hearts. As David experienced during his long days facing the shadows of the past, healing does not come from forgetting, but from accepting and transforming those memories into motivation for a new life. Anjali learned to see loss not as an end, but as a part of the natural cycle, finding peace within her soul from that understanding. The greatest lesson suffering teaches us is the ability to change our view of life and ourselves. When we no longer fear or avoid pain, we open a new space for freedom and clarity. Freedom is not escaping suffering, but knowing how to live with it peacefully and mindfully. This is not just an abstract philosophy, but a practical approach in daily life. When facing difficulties, instead of reacting with instinctive fear or anger, we can choose to pause, breathe, and observe our emotions. From this, we cultivate patience and compassion for ourselves and others. This foundation builds a sustainable and peaceful spiritual life. Suffering is also an opportunity to connect more deeply with those around us. Shared and understood experiences of loss can create genuine empathy and heartfelt relationships, helping us no longer feel alone on the journey to find meaning. Moreover, suffering acts as a catalyst awakening us to the value of the present moment. Realizing life's fragility and unpredictability, we learn to cherish each moment, love deeply, and live fully. Thus, suffering is not the final destination, but the springboard for profound growth and transformation. It reminds us that every challenge is a lesson, every loss an opportunity for awakening and rebirth. The journey of seeking the path through suffering is not for the faint-hearted, but for those who dare to face life's truth and step through darkness to find light. And when we walk this path, we understand that awakening is not a destination but a way of living, living with love, mindfulness, and unshakable inner peace, no matter how stormy the world outside. Therefore, if you are going through pain, do not despair. Remember that even in the darkest moment, a new journey awaits you. A journey not only to escape suffering, but to return to your true self, where true freedom and peace dwell. Part 3. Encounters with Extraordinary Teachers. On the path of seeking truth, there are indispensable turning points. Encounters with extraordinary teachers. They are not merely conveyors of knowledge or wisdom, but those who open new doors within the soul, helping us see ourselves and the world in a completely different way. These teachers may come in many forms: an elderly meditation master, a wise philosopher, a chance friend with meaningful words, or even a stranger who becomes a light in the darkest moment. From collapse to stillness. A Japanese entrepreneur's lesson in sitting still to see the way. Hiroshi Tanaka was once a successful entrepreneur in Tokyo, owning a rapidly growing technology company. For years, he devoted all his energy and effort to his career, always aiming to outpace competitors and expand his business internationally. Supported by his family, he seemed to be at the peak of success. However, life never goes exactly as planned. A major crisis struck when the tech market suddenly shifted, and new competitors emerged with breakthrough products, causing Hiroshi's company to lose its position. Failed investments piled up, and debts accumulated rapidly. Eventually, Hiroshi had to declare bankruptcy. From a powerful businessman, he became a man defeated, losing everything and sinking into despair. Days passed in silence as he felt lost, unable to see any way out amidst the ruins surrounding him. By chance, Hiroshi was introduced to a meditation center on the outskirts of Kyoto, home to a renowned meditation master known for helping people find themselves amid life's chaos. At first, Hiroshi did not believe in meditation or spirituality, but in desperation. Stillness was not the absence of thoughts, but the freedom from being swept away by them. Hiroshi realized that within that stillness, negative thoughts no longer dominated his mind. Instead, there was an expanding space where he could observe without judgment. One morning, during meditation, Hiroshi suddenly understood what the master meant. Sitting still is not giving up or waiting for a miracle, but stopping to clearly see oneself and the situation without rushing or being carried away by chaotic emotions. He no longer rushed to seek success outside, but took time to nurture his soul and rebuild himself from within. He learned to accept failure as a natural part of life, and to see it as a valuable lesson rather than shame or an end. Hiroshi also began sharing his experience with others, especially young entrepreneurs facing difficulties and pressure. He organized meditation sessions and told his story as living proof of the power of stillness and awareness. Hiroshi's journey was not a miraculous overnight transformation, but a slow process, sometimes challenging, yet deeply meaningful. From the collapse of a successful businessman, he found light through inner stillness and strength, moving forward on a new path with a calmer and more sustainable mindset. His story is proof that when everything outside falls apart, only then will the way forward truly appear before our eyes. 3.2. Story 4. The Journey of Letting Go, a European girl's fateful encounter with a lama in Nepal. Sophie, a young French woman, longed to escape the hustle and pressures of city life in Paris. Sophie was not a follower of Buddhism or any religion. She simply sought a peace that urban life could never provide. Traveling light. He simply taught Sophie the practice of letting go, releasing the burdens she had carried in her heart for years. Letting go was not about abandoning life or responsibility, but learning not to be bound by the past, not to be controlled by negative thoughts, and not to cling to impermanence. Under the Lama's guidance, Sophie began practicing meditation. The initial sessions of sitting quietly in stillness were uncomfortable and confusing, yet they opened a new space within her soul. She realized she had been living in attachment to work, complicated relationships, fears, and her own expectations. Urban life, with its fast pace and relentless pressure. Through the Lama's stories and everyday lessons, Sophie learned to view herself and the world more gently, without judgment and without trying to control everything. She understood that everything changes and nothing can be held forever. Letting go is an art, a way of life to leave behind what is unnecessary and focus on what truly matters. One spring afternoon, before leaving Nepal, Sophie gave the Lama a heartfelt hug. That encounter changed her not just in a moment, but marked a turning point, opening a new journey, one of awakening, freedom, and inner peace. Sophie's story stands as a testament to the power of fateful meetings and the art of letting go, a precious lesson for anyone seeking calm amidst the chaos of modern life. 3. It is not that we find the path, but the path finds us. On the journey to seek life's meaning, many believe that they are the active seekers, the ones who look for the path, the truth. They read books, study knowledge, attend courses and meditation retreats, trying every method to reach enlightenment and inner peace. Yet, when looking deeper, there is a subtle truth shared by many masters and experienced travelers. It is not that we find the path, but the path finds us. This idea may sound paradoxical because in modern society we are encouraged to be proactive and self-reliant. But on a spiritual level, seeking the path is not about forced effort. It could be a fateful meeting with a teacher, a moment of near despair when all hope is lost, or simply a brief moment of stillness amidst life's busyness. At that moment, but a truth present within ourselves, just unnoticed or waiting for the right conditions to reveal itself. The feeling of the path finding us is like cool water finding a mountain crevice, flowing gently through cracks, soothing the dry parts of the soul. We cannot force the water to come. We can only clear the stones blocking the way to let it flow naturally. This is not the result of forced effort, but a natural blossoming when we stop resisting what is happening. Moreover, the concept of the path, in many traditions, is not only about a route to personal enlightenment, but also the life force and energy that connects all things in the universe. When the path finds us, we become part of this great flow, no longer feeling isolated, but merging into the vast whole. This understanding brings deep peace and liberation because we realize we do not carry the entire burden alone. We see that every step on the spiritual journey is destined and cannot be rushed or forced. We only need to open our hearts, stay mindful, and allow the path to arrive. That is also why sometimes, despite all efforts to find the path, many feel stuck or distant from it. Because the path is not a destination to be reached by willpower alone, but a natural harmony and companionship developed over time and experience. When we realize this, we no longer feel pressured to seek or attain the path. Instead, we find ease within ourselves and our journey. We welcome whatever comes, challenges, failures, and expectations about how the spiritual journey should be. It is also a reminder that we are not alone on this path. The path always accompanies us, appearing exactly when we are ready to receive it. This discovery opens a new horizon of humility and trust in life's flow. Instead of trying to control everything, we learn to flow with it, trusting that everything happens with meaning and timing. In summary, rather than chasing light outside, listen and recognize when that light is already flowing deep inside you. The path is not something we find. It is something that has long found us. Born and raised in the bustling city of Toronto, from a young age, his family expected him to become a successful engineer, and he followed that path diligently. After graduating with excellent results, Ethan quickly landed his dream job at a major technology corporation. Despite having a stable career and a comfortable life, Ethan felt a void inside that he couldn't explain. The pressures of work, long hours in front of a computer screen, and the stress of a competitive environment gradually drained his joy and sense of freedom. One day, while reflecting on the meaning of life, Ethan happened to watch a documentary about the Himalayas and pilgrims trekking through treacherous routes in search of peace and enlightenment. A powerful emotion surged within him, a fierce desire to break free from the endless cycle of modern life, and find himself began to take shape. Ethan made a bold decision. He would quit his job, say goodbye to family and friends, and set off to trek across the Himalayan mountains. Without much mountaineering experience or knowledge of the rugged terrain, he carried in his heart a fierce faith and unwavering determination. His journey began in a small village in Nepal, where snow-capped mountains loomed before him. Every step along the rocky, uneven paths was a physical and mental challenge. Harsh weather, lack of supplies, and solitude were daily trials he had to face. Yet, it was in this harshness that Ethan found tranquility and a deep connection with nature. He learned to let go of anxieties about the future and societal pressures, focusing only on each step before him. Along the way, Ethan met many simple but warm-hearted locals, fellow pilgrims, and travelers sharing the passion for exploration. Each encounter left him valuable lessons about perseverance, humility, and human kindness. One night, under a star-filled sky at a campsite on the mountainside, Ethan felt a profound inner transformation. The noise in his mind began to subside, replaced by a clarity and peace he had never experienced before. He realized that seeking the path was not about reaching a specific destination, but a gradual process of being fully present with his soul. The trek across the Himalayas was not only a physical challenge, but also an inner journey that helped him transcend his own limits. After weeks of travel, standing atop a mountain peak overlooking the valley below, Ethan understood that he was no longer the person burdened by past worries and pressures. He had found freedom within himself, a freedom not dependent on external conditions, but arising from a deep harmony with his being. Ethan's story is a testament to the power of distant journeys that transform not just the body, but also open the soul, broaden awareness, and uncover true meaning in life. The young Canadian's Himalayan trek became a symbol of courageous letting go, relentless perseverance, and the soul's power to find its own path to liberation. 4.2, Story 6. Alone on the Vast Ocean, a South African man's solo rowing journey to find himself. Lerato Mbeki, a South African man, was once a civil engineer living in Cape Town, a city renowned for its stunning coastal landscapes, yet filled with the challenges of modern urban life. He was a man who deeply longed for freedom and a profound connection with nature, but the pressures of work and complicated relationships made him feel trapped in a chaotic and suffocating existence. After years of struggling to balance responsibilities with personal desires, Lerato began to feel an intense urge to leave everything behind and seek a space where he could confront and truly understand himself. The idea of rowing solo across the Atlantic Ocean emerged in his mind as not only a physical challenge, but a deeply spiritual journey. Without professional sailing experience, nor being an athlete or explorer, Lerato set out with just a small boat, a rudimentary map, and unwavering determination. He believed this journey would help him escape the noise of urban life, find inner stillness, and discover himself in ways he had never dared to imagine before. On departure day, Lerato left the Cape Town harbor, boarding his tiny boat and heading toward the vast, open ocean. The waves rocked fiercely, winds blew strong, and the weather was often harsh. Yet each moment at sea offered unique experiences, both testing and enriching his soul. For weeks, Lerato lived alongside the ocean, amid the infinite expanse of water and sky. He faced profound solitude, no companions, no city noise, only the sounds of waves and wind. But it was in this silence that he began to hear the deep voices within, thoughts and emotions buried for so long. The early days were filled with fear, doubt, and vulnerability. But he refused to give up. Lerato learned to control his breathing, adapt to the ocean's rhythms, and slowly merge into the natural flow of life at sea. Under bright moonlit nights, with a sky full of stars shimmering above the dark waters, Lerato felt a sacred connection to the universe. He realized that silence and solitude were not emptiness, but a space for rebirth and self-discovery. He gradually understood that the ocean was not just a physical space, but a symbol of infinity, representing the deep mysteries within the human soul. Amid the vast sea, he learned to let go of mental burdens, allowing his spirit to gently drift with the waves, finding true freedom. The solo rowing journey also taught Lerato the values of perseverance, faith, and humility before nature and life. Each passing day was a lesson, a precious experience helping him mature and come closer to his true self. When Lerato's small boat finally reached a distant European harbor, he was no longer the man who left Cape Town filled with doubts and worries. He had found a profound peace, an inner liberation he had long dreamed of. Lorado Mbecky's story stands as a testament to the power of solitary but meaningful journeys, trips that not only take us away from the outer world but also bring us back to ourselves, rediscovering freedom, connection, and inner light amid the vast ocean. 4.3. The greatest distance is not geographical, but from a restless mind to inner peace. On the path of seeking the way, many believe that overcoming geographical distances, conquering distant lands, or enduring physical challenges is the hardest part. Yet in truth, the greatest distance we face is not found on the world map, but lies within our own minds. The human mind is a complex space filled with countless thoughts, emotions, and worries. Restlessness of the soul, worries about the future, regrets about the past, or the inner struggle between desires and reality, is the biggest barrier separating us from true peace and calm. Many on the spiritual journey realize that no matter how far they travel, how many teachers they meet, or how many profound experiences they have, the journey out of a restless mind is the most important inner journey, the gradual process of releasing deep-rooted attachments, anxieties, and fears. When we face and understand the nature of these states, the burden on our shoulders eases, and the distance to inner peace shortens. Stories of those who have traveled far and faced harsh physical trials reveal a profound truth. Peace is not the result of running away from external difficulties, but acceptance and befriending the unrest within. The distance from a restless mind to peace is not measured in kilometers or miles, but by understanding and the ability to let go. It is a journey of awakening, learning to live fully in the present moment without being pulled by past or future. Inner peace does not mean the absence of negative thoughts or emotions, but the calm recognition of them without letting them control life. Mindfulness and awareness in each moment build a solid inner space where restlessness no longer rules. Like standing in the vast ocean, the greatest challenge is not the distance to the farthest shore, but the peace within when facing that boundless sea. This message reminds us that every long journey is not just about leaving familiar places, but also an opportunity to return within ourselves. In that journey, narrowing the distance from a restless mind to peace is the most crucial step, for only with deep inner peace can we truly find the path to liberation. In conclusion, no matter how long the journey of seeking or how many lands we cross, the inner journey, from unrest to peace, is the truly meaningful and necessary path. This inner peace will guide us through every storm in life, making all outer journeys complete and fulfilling. Part 5. Finding the path in everyday life. Not everyone needs to escape the noisy world or embark on grand journeys to discover the path to enlightenment. Sometimes, works at a large hospital in Florence, a city renowned as a historic center of art and philosophy. From a young age, Elena had a deep passion for caring for others, choosing nursing as a way to ease both physical and emotional pain. Her daily work is far from simple, as if a gentle energy surrounded him, turning death from a terrifying end into a natural part of life's cycle. Spending nights by his bedside, but from accepting, respecting, and loving each present moment, even those final ones. These experiences completely transformed Elena's perspective on life, reminding us that the path to enlightenment is not distant but a tangible, intimate experience in every breath, every touch, and every gaze of daily life. 5.2. Story 8. The Extraordinary Journey of a New York Taxi Driver. The lesson that everyone is our teacher. Jack Thompson, a taxi driver in New York City, lived what seemed like an ordinary and simple life, but carried within it a profound spiritual journey. With his iconic yellow cab navigating the crowded streets, busy avenues, and cold, sleepless nights of the city, Jack transported thousands of passengers. At first, driving a taxi was just a job to make ends meet for Jack. But through each ride and every brief conversation with passengers, he began to realize something. Every person carries their own story, a lesson he could learn from. These seemingly small encounters became a source of inspiration and valuable lessons on his path to enlightenment. One day, Jack picked up an elderly woman who had endured many hardships in life. Through her story, Jack recognized resilience, compassion, and inner strength he had never fully appreciated before. This encounter made him reflect on himself and how he faced life's difficulties. Another time, he gave a ride to a young man full of ambition but also lost and uncertain. Their short conversation inside the taxi made Jack understand that everyone, regardless of their position, is on their own unique journey, and anyone can be a teacher if we know how to listen and learn. From diverse encounters with all kinds of people, Jack gradually changed his worldview and his perception of himself. He realized that humility and gratitude toward those around him opened the door to awakening. Every passenger, though fleeting in his life, brought lessons about patience, compassion, and forgiveness that he needed to practice. Jack also learned to let go of prejudices and judgments, accepting what happens around him with calmness. He understood that instead of searching for something great far away, he found answers in small moments and among the most ordinary people. Jack Thompson's story proves a profound truth. On the path to enlightenment, everyone is our teacher. When we open our hearts and listen, we can learn from anyone, in any circumstance. These lessons will guide us step by step toward awakening and peace. The journey of a taxi driver weaving through the bustling streets of New York becomes a symbol of inner exploration, of seeking meaning and peace amid the busiest and loudest daily life. The path is not in distant temples, but in every breath of daily life. On the journey of seeking the path, many people often think that enlightenment can only be found in sacred places, ancient temples, or distant mystical lands. However, a deeper truth lies right in everyday life, in the simple breaths that we often overlook. The path is not something distant or mysterious, but the awareness and full presence in every moment we live. Breath is life, an unceasing rhythm that everyone can feel within themselves. When we let go of wandering thoughts, worries about the past or future, and focus fully on each breath, we return to the present, the place where all truths about life and ourselves reveal most clearly. This is the essence of the path, awakening and mindfulness in every breath. Realizing that the path lies in daily breathing also means there is no need to seek faraway places, no need to chase distant journeys or elaborate rituals. Each person can practice mindfulness right in ordinary life, amid the busyness of work and daily concerns, by keeping a calm mind and paying attention to their own breath. It is this simplicity that leads us closest to enlightenment. The most sacred space is not a temple or monastery, but the soul itself, where we can find absolute refuge and peace. When our mind is calm, all difficulties and worries become lighter, and we can see life more clearly, free from illusions and suffering. The most important thing in realizing the path through breath is persistent and continuous practice. In every action, emotion, and breath, the path is the connection with ourselves, the present, and the world around us in a profound and complete way. This realization opens a new horizon for those seeking meaning and peace. The path is not something outside, but a journey inward, returning to the breath, returning to oneself. And when we know how to live in that breath, we have truly found the path to liberation. Part 6. Falls and challenges on the path to enlightenment. The path to enlightenment is never paved with roses. On the contrary, it is often a journey filled with challenges, setbacks, moments of deep self-doubt, and suffering. It is precisely in these difficult moments that seekers must confront their fears, disappointments, and inner limits they had never known before. Stories of those who have fallen but still persisted, continuing to walk the path of awakening, stand as vivid proof of the power of will and perseverance. This journey is not only one of awakening, but also of spiritual growth, where every failure becomes a valuable lesson and every hardship a stepping stone toward deeper understanding of oneself and life. Together, we will explore touching and authentic stories about setbacks that seemed to break the seekers, but instead ignited the light of transformation and hope. This is a journey not for the faint-hearted, but for those brave enough to face, move forward, and change. 6.1. Story 9. The stormy journey of a young Thai monk, from doubt to renewed faith. Panya, a young monk from a small village in northern Thailand, once went through a period full of deep doubt and confusion on his spiritual path. Born into a traditional Buddhist family, He was guided into the monastery from a very young age, hoping to find peace and answers to the restlessness in his heart. However, after several years living in the monastery, Panya began to feel emptiness and profound skepticism about the path he was on. Questions about the meaning of his practice, the truth of the teachings, and Buddhism itself left him without satisfactory answers. Internal conflicts grew stronger, bringing loneliness and loss of direction. At his most difficult moment, Panya decided to leave the monastery and return to secular life. During those days, he struggled with feelings of failure and loss of faith in himself. Panya met an elderly meditation master, someone who had endured many hardships and deeply understood the doubts of young seekers. Through profound conversations and patient guidance, the master helped Panya face his fears and uncertainties rather than avoid them. Gradually, Panya realized that doubt was not an enemy of the spiritual path, but an essential part of growth. His questioning drove him to explore more deeply and seek truth through personal experience instead of blindly accepting teachings. He learned to accept himself with all his insecurities and weaknesses and to continue walking with renewed determination and openness. Panya's story shows that the path to enlightenment is not always smooth. Setbacks and periods of doubt are inevitable steps in progressing toward awakening. The key is not to avoid falling but to know how to rise, reflect, and move forward with renewed faith. Through this experience, Panya not only regained his lost faith, but also gained a deeper soul and a more thorough understanding of Buddhism and the true meaning of the path to liberation. He returned to the monastery with a new mindset, not as one blindly following doctrines, but as a practitioner who understands, loves, and perseveres on his own journey. This young time monk's story is not only a personal journey, but also a powerful inspiration for anyone experiencing confusion and doubt on the quest for enlightenment. It reminds us that every challenge and hardship can become an opportunity for growth and to move closer to the truth. 6.2, Story 10, Deceived in a Spiritual Maze. A Brazilian man's journey to rediscover the truth. Carlos is a young man from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, a vibrant city full of color but also many life challenges. From a young age, Carlos had a passionate interest in spirituality and meditation practices. He deeply longed to find the path leading to inner peace and ultimate truth. This eagerness made him easily attracted to emerging spiritual groups promising quick enlightenment, healing from all suffering, and unlocking the mysteries of the universe. Carlos joined a widely advertised meditation group in Rio, where the leader was praised as an extraordinary master. At first, everything seemed wonderful: group meditation sessions, profound teachings, and the camaraderie of friendly members. However, after a while, Carlos began to notice many troubling signs: excessive financial demands, strict control over personal behavior, and threats about negative energies. If someone left the group, made Carlos feel trapped and confused. Carlos felt deeply betrayed and lost faith in himself and the spiritual path he had been pursuing. Yet, from this painful experience, Carlos began a journey to rediscover himself. Reading scriptures and attending courses on Eastern philosophy and ethics with more caution and awareness. This journey was far from easy. Carlos often felt lost, doubtful, and tempted to give up. He learned to discern between falsehood and truth, not just with reason, but through intuition and direct experience. Over time, Carlos gradually rebuilt his faith, establishing his spiritual foundation on sincerity and transparency. He understood that enlightenment is neither a quick destination nor a miracle, but a long journey made up of small, steady steps each day. Carlos's story is a vital reminder for anyone seeking a spiritual path amid the many temptations and dangers of the modern world. It speaks not only of the pain of betrayal, but also of the resilient strength of the human spirit when one perseveres with awareness, rises again, and continues walking with renewed faith. Carlos did not just find truth for himself, but also became an inspiration to those around him, living proof that even in the darkest depths of confusion and despair, the light of truth and freedom can always be found. 6.3 Message. Seeking the path is like climbing a mountain. Discern truth from falsehood. Never give up halfway. The journey to find the path is never easy. It is like climbing a towering mountain, full of challenges and hardships. Every step along this path demands perseverance, courage, and wisdom to distinguish between truth and falsehood, light and darkness. Those who embark on the spiritual journey will inevitably face setbacks, doubts, and traps set by both themselves and the outside world. Discerning truth from falsehood during the spiritual quest is not only a necessary skill, but also a decisive factor for success or failure. There are many false masters and organizations that exploit seekers' trust for their own gain, causing deep emotional and even physical harm. Without sufficient awareness, seekers can easily lose their way, become disoriented, or even lose themselves. However, doubt should not become total skepticism, but rather a mindful vigilance that helps us walk more firmly on the spiritual path. Every failure, every stumble, is a valuable lesson for us to learn, reflect, and grow. Like climbing a mountain, sometimes we must pause to observe, reassess our direction, adjust our steps, and gather strength to continue conquering the summit. More importantly, never give up halfway. Many abandon the spiritual path due to difficulties, challenges, or emotional shocks, thinking it is impossible for them. Yet, at those moments, perseverance and determination become the keys to overcoming darkness and approaching the light of awakening. Those who persist, even if slowly or with stumbles, always have the chance to attain profound peace and clarity. Moreover, seeking the path is an ongoing process of learning and self-awareness. There is no one-time finish line. Each stage brings its own challenges and new truths to discover. The deeper one goes, the more one needs to develop the ability to discern, analyze, and honestly self-reflect. This message also emphasizes the role of personal responsibility in the spiritual journey. No one else can awaken us but ourselves. Teachers, lessons, and experiences are merely tools. We are the ones who take each step on this path. When we keep our minds clear, alert, and persistent, no matter how many challenges arise, the path will open and lead to true liberation. Finally, seeking the path is not only a personal journey, but also a deep connection with the surrounding world. When we overcome challenges, we not only liberate ourselves, but also become a source of inspiration and support for others walking the quest for truth and peace. Thus, the path to enlightenment is like climbing a mountain. It requires patience, mindfulness in discerning truth from falsehood, and above all, never giving up no matter how difficult the journey becomes. Each steady step brings us closer to the light of awakening, and each challenge overcome helps us grow on our spiritual journey. Part 7. Transformation after seeking the path. The journey of inner change and the power of spiritual light. The journey of seeking the path is not only an external voyage, but also a profound transformation within each person's soul. When stepping onto the spiritual path, many experience powerful shifts in awareness, emotions, and behavior. These changes are not always easy, yet they open the door to true freedom and lasting peace. It may be the letting go of worries, anger, and selfishness, or an awakening to love and forgiveness more deeply. Those who once struggled with themselves and life now learn to slow down and gain a deeper understanding of themselves and the world around them. In this section, we will explore inspiring stories of the miraculous inner transformation of people who have found the spiritual light, becoming a positive source of energy spreading to their communities and society. This is a vivid proof of the transformative power that the journey of seeking the path can bring to each person's life. 7.1 Story 11. From Prison Darkness to Light of Peace. The transformational journey of an American inmate. John is a man born and raised in a poor neighborhood of Detroit, USA. His childhood was not illuminated by bright lights, but marked by hardship, violence, poverty, and a lack of love. As he grew up, John got caught in the wrong paths, involved in violent activities, and eventually received a long prison sentence. Inside the cold walls of a federal prison, John spent years that seemed hopeless and without escape. Yet, it was during those dark moments that a small light began to flicker within his soul. Thanks to a special rehabilitation program organized by a nonprofit in cooperation with the prison, John was introduced to meditation classes, education on peace, and life skills. At first, he was skeptical and could hardly believe that these things could change his life. But day by day, persistent meditation helped John gradually find inner peace that he had never known before. He started to reflect on past mistakes and nurture compassion and forgiveness, things once far from reach for someone who had lived in hatred and violence. This spiritual journey in prison not only transformed John internally, but also inspired many other inmates. He became a spiritual leader within the prison, organizing group meditation sessions and discussions on peace and positive change. John's story spread widely, creating a small but strong community that helped reduce tension and violence in the harsh prison environment. When he was released after many years, John did not return to his old life, but chose the path of social activism for peace and community restoration. He joined programs helping former offenders reintegrate into society and organized meditation and peace education classes for youth in impoverished areas. John's story is a vivid testament to the transformative power of spirituality even in the most seemingly desperate circumstances. It shows that no matter how far someone has fallen, there is always an opportunity to awaken, change, and create a meaningful, valuable life. John's journey from prisoner to peace activist inspires those trapped in darkness to find the light and reminds us all of the power of perseverance, forgiveness, and love in making real change, not only for oneself, but for society as a whole. 7.2, Story 12. From the darkness of addiction to the light of meditation. The miraculous transformation journey of a French inspirational figure. Claire is a woman born and raised in Marseille, a coastal city in southern France. Her life was far from the rosy picture her bright exterior suggested. For many years, Claire was trapped in the vicious cycle of drug addiction, lost her way, and became estranged from her family and close friends. She was hospitalized multiple times due to overdoses and faced serious legal consequences more than once. Her life seemed completely shattered until a friend introduced her to a meditation class designed for people in recovery. At first, Claire approached meditation with skepticism, unable to believe that sitting still and observing the breath could help her overcome addiction and the persistent emotional pain she carried. However, with persistence and careful guidance from the meditation teacher, Claire gradually felt a profound change in her mind. Meditation not only helped her control her cravings, but also allowed her to heal deep wounds, feelings of loneliness, fear, and guilt that had haunted her for years. Through each meditation session, Claire learned to slow down and accept herself with all her past mistakes and pain, without judgment or giving up. This became a turning point that helped her break free from the cycle of addiction and begin rebuilding her life with hope and faith. More than just her own transformation, Claire became a powerful source of inspiration to the community. She started offering free meditation classes to people struggling with addiction and other psychological issues. Claire's story has helped hundreds realize the healing power of meditation and spirituality in restoring and renewing their lives. The challenging social landscape of Marseille, with its diverse neighborhoods and social strata, painted an authentic picture of the difficulties Claire and many others faced. Yet it was here, through meditation and inner transformation, that Claire found a new path, a path of freedom, peace, and spreading love. Claire's story is a vivid testament to the extraordinary power of the human spirit when awakened and nurtured through meditation. It is not only a story of overcoming addiction, but also a journey of self-transcendence, reclaiming life's value, and becoming a beacon for those lost along the way. Her journey from the darkness of addiction to the light of meditation reminds us that no matter how far life pushes us down, there is always a path to healing and transformation if we open our hearts and persist on that journey. It is a powerful message of hope and the indomitable resilience of the human soul. 7.3 Meaning. Seeking the path is not only for one's own peace, but also to spread benefits to others. In the journey of seeking the path, the important thing is not only the inner peace and tranquility that each individual can achieve, but also the ability to spread those values to the broader community and society. The path is not a way to isolate oneself, separate from the world, but a way to connect and transmit positive energy to help many others step into the light of wisdom and compassion. When a person finds peace within their soul, the first thing they feel is a source of positive energy that motivates them not only to live better, but also to share that happiness with others. Inner transformation changes one's perspective on life, people, and the difficulties and challenges around them. From that point, they begin to act with compassion, patience, and a spirit of service, contributing to the collective development of the community. Many typical stories demonstrate that from the peace of one individual, positive changes can spread miraculously like ripples on the surface of a calm lake. They become living examples, inspiring others on their journey to find life's meaning or struggling with personal challenges. Spreading benefits does not necessarily mean grand or spectacular actions, but can start from small gestures, sincere words, and simple acts of kindness filled with humanity in daily life. This contributes to creating a harmonious society where people feel deeply connected, supported, and willing to share with one another. Moreover, this spirit of spreading goodness expands into a social responsibility, helping everyone build a peaceful, sustainable, and developing living environment. When many people focus on moral and spiritual values, society becomes stronger, reducing conflicts, violence, and injustice, which are the root causes of suffering. Inner transformation is not only about changing oneself, but also recognizing one's social responsibility. Such spreading of benefits also helps reduce loneliness and isolation in modern society, where many face feelings of alienation and lack of connection. When there is a community that shares, empathizes, and supports each other, each individual feels more secure to continue developing on their spiritual and life path. In summary, the deepest meaning of seeking the path lies not only in one's own peace, but also in the ability to spread values of peace, love, and wisdom to others. This is the sacred mission of those who seek spiritual light, not only to walk through darkness themselves, but also to help open the way for other souls to awaken and be free. Part 8: Mysterious Encounters and Dreams and Unexplainable Spiritual Experiences. In the journey of seeking the path, many have encountered special meetings in dreams or profound spiritual experiences that reason finds hard to explain. These mystical moments not only create a deep resonance within the soul, but also open doors guiding the next steps on the path to enlightenment. It could be the image of a master, a departed loved one, or a spiritual symbol appearing in sleep, leaving profound messages or inspiration that changes one's life. These experiences transcend the limits of physical reality, touching the deep layers of spirituality and inner understanding. They often come unexpectedly, full of mystery, prompting long reflection from those who experience them. Sometimes, such dreams or spiritual phenomena become indispensable turning points in each person's spiritual journey. 8.1 Story 13. A prophetic dream and a fateful meeting with an unknown teacher. Mark is a technology engineer living in Seattle, USA, a seemingly ordinary person busy with daily work and life. However, deep inside his soul, he harbored a strong longing for the meaning of life, a desire to find peace and truth beyond everyday pressures. One night, Mark dreamed of a strange man with a gentle demeanor, wearing a simple robe, whose eyes were deep and full of peace. The man sat beside a small lamp in a dim room, speaking to Mark about things that felt strange yet deeply familiar. He heard teachings about mindful living, letting go, and compassion. The dream ended when the man gently placed his hand on Mark's shoulder, leaving him with a warmth and peace he had never felt before. After that dream, Mark became obsessed with the image of the teacher and began searching for information about meditation traditions and famous meditation masters worldwide. This unexpected encounter deeply moved Mark and opened a new door for his spiritual journey. Swami Ravi not only helped Mark deepen his understanding of consciousness, but also taught him meditation techniques to purify his soul and let go of past attachments. During months of practice under Swami Ravi's guidance, Mark realized that the dream was no coincidence, but a spiritual invitation, a timeless connection between him and his teacher. The dream acted as an inner compass, guiding him toward a new horizon of awareness and peace. Mark's story has touched many because it embodies the miracle and mystery of spiritual experiences that reason struggles to explain. It shows that on the path of seeking, Sometimes we must follow signs unseen by the physical eye and trust the invisible signals that arise in dreams or deep inner feelings. The story also reminds us that enlightenment does not always come as expected, but is always present, waiting for us in the most unexpected places. Some encounters need no appointment, defy logic, yet can change a person's life forever. Mark's journey, from a mysterious dream to meeting a meditation master, is a vivid testament to the power of spirituality and the miracle of invisible connection on the path to awakening. It offers us the belief that no matter how complicated and chaotic life gets, there are always miracles beyond understanding, guiding us steadily toward the light. 8.2 Story 14. A miraculous near-death experience in Norway. The journey back to meditation and inner peace. Lars is a Norwegian construction engineer who lived what seemed to be a normal and stable life. Busy with work, a happy family, and daily responsibilities. However, beneath this outward appearance, Lars always felt a deep emptiness, a vague unease about the true meaning of life and existence. He did not know that an unexpected event was about to completely change his life, opening up a miraculous spiritual journey that even he could not have imagined. One fateful afternoon, Lars was involved in a serious car accident while driving on a narrow mountain road near Oslo. His car lost control and plunged into a deep ravine. When rescuers arrived, Lars was almost unconscious, and doctors said his chance of survival was slim. At that moment, Lars experienced a near-death state, a journey to what he called another realm, or the other side, where time and space seemed to stop and his soul floated outside his body, freed from physical limitations. In that state, Lars felt an extraordinary peace, surrounded by a radiant light and an unconditional love filling his soul. He saw magnificent images of nature, vast green forests, sparkling rivers shimmering under sunlight, and a vast sky with clouds as white as cotton. All feelings of pain, fear, or anxiety completely vanished. Lars felt liberated from all bonds, experiencing absolute freedom. The most remarkable part was that he saw the image of an elderly man with a gentle smile and eyes full of deep understanding. The man said nothing but seemed to convey a message through his heart, that life is impermanent, and letting go is the true path to freedom. Lars received a firm belief, an invitation to return to the spiritual path and inner tranquility. When Lars woke up in the hospital, he carried vivid memories of the experience. In the following days, he no longer feared death or loss, but instead felt calm, hopeful, and eager to seek truth. He began studying meditation and various spiritual traditions, from Buddhism to modern mindfulness techniques. Lars realized meditation was not just a calming practice, but a path to deeply understand the true nature of life and soul. He started meditating with simple breathing and mind observation exercises, gradually joining more intensive retreats. Each day meditation became indispensable in his life. Meditation helped him let go of worries, anger, and suffering in his mind, allowing him to find a stable peace in the present moment. Lars's meditation journey also deeply transformed his worldview. He learned to live with gratitude, respect all life, and cherish every moment. His relationships with family and colleagues grew more harmonious and meaningful as he practiced acceptance and forgiveness. Through Lars's story, listeners can see that sometimes moments close to death mark the beginning of a new life full of meaning and depth. Near-death experiences are not just brushes with mortality, but miraculous inner journeys opening doors to awakening and liberation. This story emphasizes that even in the darkest moments, there is always a guiding light, the power of spirituality, meditation, and faith in inner change. Lars proved that the path to enlightenment does not always begin on mountain peaks or distant monasteries, but sometimes starts with the deepest experiences within ourselves. Lars's journey in Norway is a vivid testament to life's miracles and the ability to overcome difficulties and challenges to find oneself, inner peace, and the light of awakening. It inspires listeners to believe that each of us can find our own path, no matter where the journey begins. 8.3 There are guidances that cannot be explained by reason. On the path of seeking the way. Many times we sense subtle guidance from some invisible force, an energy flow or arrangement beyond the reach of rational understanding. These miraculous moments cannot be explained by logic or science, yet they leave a deep imprint, changing the direction and perception of life itself. This is one of the greatest mysteries of the spiritual journey, a resonance with things beyond the limits of language and thought. It might be an unexpected encounter, a kind word or small gesture from a stranger, a dream, or even a deep inner urging that we cannot resist, pushing us to walk on a path we had never imagined before. Such events are like invisible anchors holding the soul, guiding us through difficult times, moments of lost direction or self-doubt. This inexplicable guidance is also the intersection between the material world and the spiritual realm, where usual limits of space and time lose meaning. People tell many stories about meaningful coincidences, the timely appearance of teachers or companions, or sacred symbols appearing when consciousness is expanded. They realize that these trials are not the end, but the beginning of a deeper journey, where material values are set aside to make room for awakening and profound self-understanding. In both Western and Eastern cultures, people have long believed in destiny's guidance, guardian spirits, or interventions by higher energies. Whether viewed scientifically or spiritually, stories of fateful encounters and life-altering decisions driven by deep feelings always attract attention and provoke reflections about a mysterious world beyond what is visible. What is special is that this guidance is not always clear or easy to recognize. It may be an inexplicable unease before a major event, an intuition signaling a needed change, or an emotion rising in the quietest moments when the mind is free from external noise. These experiences come naturally and gently, not forced, but strong enough to urge one to step into a new chapter of life. Some, after years of searching and doubting, finally realize that the moments not explainable by reason are the most important milestones on their spiritual path. They learn to listen to their inner voice, trust intuition and deep connection with the universe rather than relying solely on logic and tangible evidence. By accepting mystery and uncertainty, people open themselves to receive miracles and small wonders in life that would otherwise be overlooked or underestimated. This invisible guidance acts as an inner compass, helping us find direction even when life's map seems erased. This also suggests that on the spiritual path, not everyone sees the same signs or experiences. Each person has a unique journey and a special way to be guided, fitting their karma and spiritual growth. Some find light in books, others in meditation retreats, and some only recognize it through indescribable experiences. This guidance beyond reason also reminds us to stay humble and open to the unknown, so as not to confine ourselves within fixed limits. It means expanding the heart and soul, ready to welcome surprises, unexpected changes, and trust that a path always lies ahead, even if unseen. Ultimately, trusting the invisible, the inexplicable guidance, is the greatest motivation, helping people overcome difficulties and continue walking the path of truth and awakening. In this mystery and the inexplicable, we find life's true beauty and the hidden power of the human spirit. It is an invitation to endlessly explore, trust, and move forward on the way, a path not only of intellect, but also of the heart. Part 9. The path is not just Buddhism. On the journey of seeking the path, many people immediately associate it with Buddhism, a noble and wise way to enlightenment. However, the path is not confined to any single tradition or religion. It is a universal spirit that transcends all cultural, temporal, and spatial boundaries. Some find light in other spiritual traditions such as Christianity, Taoism, Hinduism, or various modern spiritual practices. The essence of seeking the path is the deep desire to understand oneself, to search for the truth of life, and to be liberated from suffering and the entanglements of human existence. The miraculous thing is that although the routes differ, where people, despite their different starting points, all find the guiding light through their own unique experiences and beliefs. There are those who seek the light not only within a single belief system, but across many cultures and faiths. Some embark on their spiritual journey through Christianity or Islam, yet along the way, they come into contact with the values of compassion and loving-kindness taught by Buddhism. This is a special intersection. Many Muslims on their spiritual paths also find empathy with Buddhist philosophy concerning harmony, patience, and forgiveness. These values transcend religious boundaries and serve as guiding lights for those yearning for liberation and inner peace. This is not merely coincidence, but proof of a universal truth. The spirit of compassion and love is the invisible thread connecting the world's major religions. Though expressed differently, their core essence is the yearning for peace, healing, and awakening. This understanding helps dissolve barriers between religions, creating a shared space for seekers regardless of their origins. This expands their perspectives and deepens their understanding of the meaning of the path. They do not abandon their original faith, but instead integrate the wisdom from multiple traditions to build a multidimensional, meaningful, and flexible spiritual journey. Importantly, this religious intersection is not limited to theory, but is clearly reflected in practice. Seekers who follow this path often embody harmony in their lives, treating others with respect, humility, and kindness. They realize they do not need to choose between religions, but can embrace and absorb shared spiritual values, thereby nurturing peace and love within their hearts. This interfaith harmony also serves as a reminder that on the spiritual path, openness and mutual respect are the keys to unlocking truth. Stories of seekers who come from Christianity or Islam but encounter the compassionate spirit akin to Buddhism clearly demonstrate the power of love beyond all boundaries. Mexican artist finds the path through art and compassion. In the vibrant and emotional world of art, some people find their spiritual path through the strokes, sounds, and images they create. The story of Arturo, a young artist from Mexico City, is a vivid example of how the path is not only contained within religious teachings or rituals, but can also be felt and experienced through art and profound compassion. Arturo, a talented painter, went through many life challenges that led him into deep confusion and inner turmoil. The chaos in his soul was reflected in his paintings, filled with dark colors and fragmented images. With every brushstroke and layer of color, Arturo gradually realized that art was not just a way to express himself, but also a means to connect with deeper spiritual values. He began exploring various spiritual traditions, including Buddhism, with its spirit of compassion and mindfulness, values that seemed to resonate with the emotions and messages he wanted to convey through his paintings. During this process, Arturo focused not only on technique, but also on his mindset while creating. He practiced meditation to calm his mind before each work, striving to imbue every detail with peace and compassion. Arturo's works quickly attracted attention not only for their refined technique, but also for their emotional depth and powerful humanitarian message. His exhibitions became sacred spaces where viewers didn't just see art, but deeply felt the harmony of souls and profound empathy. Many shared that through Arturo's paintings, creating deep connections among people and with the world around them. In this case, the path is not only a philosophical system, but a living experience embodied in every color, line, and elevated emotion of creation. The journey of an artist like Arturo expands the concept of seeking the path and challenges us to rethink how we approach spirituality in modern life. When everything seems hurried and chaotic, art can be a doorway into the inner world, helping us pause, listen, and understand ourselves. Through this story, viewers are invited to reflect on how each person can find the light of the path through very personal ways, not necessarily confined to traditional frameworks. It might be a brushstroke, a song, or simply the spreading of compassion in small, everyday actions. Ultimately, Arturo's story conveys a profound message. The path is creative and vibrant, existing everywhere if we open our hearts and perceive it with our souls. It is both a personal liberation journey and a reminder of the power of love and connection in a constantly changing world. 9. 3. Realization. The core of all spiritual paths is love and wisdom. In humanity's journey of seeking the path, across countless cultures, religions, and philosophies, one essential truth remains: overcoming the barriers of ignorance and suffering. Love, or compassion, is the power that connects humans to each other and to the vast world around them. It helps us open our hearts, transcends selfishness, hatred, and daily afflictions. With love, we care not only for ourselves, but deeply empathize with the pain and joy of others. Compassion is the letting go of the small self. Wisdom in spiritual traditions is not merely knowledge or theoretical understanding, but a deep insight into impermanence, no self, and dependent origination of all phenomena. With wisdom, we are no longer trapped in illusions, attachments, and suffering, but can face and accept reality calmly and clearly, leading to naive compassion that may hurt others unintentionally. Conversely, wisdom without love can become dry, cold, and detached from humanity. When these two elements harmonize, in today's fast-paced and turbulent life, many feel lost and lonely due to the lack of genuine connection with others and themselves. The path is not a long, complicated journey of rituals, but a process of nurturing love and wisdom in every present moment. This is also a reminder that there is no need to seek far away, because truth and inner light are always present within each person. Each of us can start with small, yet loving and mindful actions, gradually expanding our hearts and wisdom, thereby spreading positive energy to the community and the world. The core of all spiritual paths is love and wisdom. This is the eternal compass, the deepest essence of the journey toward awakening and liberation. When we understand this, we are no longer lost in the illusions of worldly life, but know how to live harmoniously, meaningfully. To profound inner transformations leads us to a simple yet deeply profound truth. The path is not somewhere far away, but right within ourselves. The path is life itself, the breath we take, the love and wisdom that permeate every moment we exist. Each story, whether it is the soldier who lost his comrades, the mother who lost her child, the failed entrepreneur, or those distant travels, reflects that the spiritual journey is not a fixed route, but a process of self-discovery and awakening within. It is a journey full of challenges, yet rich with meaning when we recognize that suffering is not an end, but a beginning for transformation and growth. We see clearly that true change does not come from outside, but starts from moments of stillness, from mindful breathing, from appreciating and spreading gratitude to everyone and everything in life. Whether following Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, or no formal religion at all, love and wisdom are always the common foundation for sincere seekers of truth. Great teachers emphasize that awakening involves both profound understanding and limitless compassion. Today, in a fast-paced and chaotic world, many feel lost and lonely from a lack of genuine connection with themselves and others. Realizing that all spiritual paths converge in love and wisdom helps us regain balance and meaning. While clearly perceiving all phenomena with wisdom, we are truly walking the spiritual path. This is also a reminder that there is no need to search far away because the truth and inner light always reside within each person. We can start with small but loving and mindful acts, gradually expanding our hearts and wisdom, thus spreading positive energy to the community and the world. The core of all spiritual paths is love and wisdom. This is the eternal compass. Now, I invite you, the listener, to pause and ask yourself, where is my own journey of seeking the path? Perhaps it is the path you are currently on or still searching for. It may be the lessons of your past, today's experiences, or dreams for the future. Everyone has their own story and path, but all can find peace and meaning by listening deeply within. Practice mindful breathing as the simplest, most practical way to connect with yourself and return to the present moment. Every breath is a bridge leading us out of worldly turmoil toward calm and clarity. Gratitude helps us recognize the value of seemingly small but precious things, from existence itself, to relationships, to challenges. When we cultivate gratitude, our hearts open wide, and we feel a deep connection with all beings and the world. Finally, I invite you to share your own story of seeking the path. No need for perfection or length, just sincere experiences and meaningful steps. When your story is heard and shared, it becomes a source of inspiration and strength for many others walking their spiritual journeys. The path is not something distant or mysterious, but an inner transformation accessible to anyone willing to begin. It lives in the breath, gratitude, love, and wisdom of each day. Most importantly, the path is always present within us, waiting to be awakened and brought to life through our actions and awareness. Let your journey of seeking the path become a living story in your life, a journey without end, only continuous growth of soul and love. Every step you take, no matter how small or steady, contributes to making this world better, brighter, and full of meaning. Together, let us walk this path with mindful breath, open hearts full of love, and clear wisdom illuminating every step. The path is who we are, and we are the path. If you find this message meaningful, don't hesitate to practice starting today. Take a few moments to focus on your breath. Feel each inhale and exhale. Nurture gratitude for life, and share your story of seeking the path with the community. The journey becomes stronger when we walk it together. Wishing you peace and steadfastness on your path of seeking. There are moments in life when you stand amidst the bustling crowd, yet feel completely adrift. All the sounds around you seem distant, while inside, an unnamed emptiness quietly expands. You might be in a brightly lit office, a warm home, or the heart of a glittering city, but deep down, you don't know what you're truly living for. Then one day, that question grows too big to ignore. People call that moment the first step of the spiritual quest, a journey unlike anyone else's, a road no one can walk on your behalf. Some begin from loss, when a single event sweeps away everything they once relied upon. Others set off from a pain they cannot name, wandering halfway around the world before touching even a glimpse of peace. And there are those who, in the midst of ordinary life, suddenly realize they've been missing something vital all along, themselves. Strangely enough, the path to truth isn't always paved with sacred teachings or grand temples. Sometimes it begins with a glance from a stranger who sees right through you, a fleeting